Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Urban Libertarian. It's August 6, 2017. And as usual, reporting from the crazy capital of Los Angeles. And as I was just about to make this the news about Trump launching this cruise missile attack on Syria, um, I was going to do something about Susan Rice and the whole spying thing. Uh, so I'm gonna have to include that. That's not good. That's definitely looks like it's most likely a false flag. Even that's what Ron Paul's saying. That's not the right move. The first time that Syria got attacked was turned out even the UN had to admit it was the quote unquote rebels that did it, not the government. So I don't know why he's believing the intel. I don't think it's right. I think they knew that Trump was gonna cave in. He loves children. He's a real human being, and I think that he fell for it with the kids, which I think they definitely did get killed. It's sad, or injured. I'm sure some children did get killed, but he saw those images of those kids, and I don't think that's right. It looks like he got duped into it, and it's really disappointing to see that. That's not good. But anyway, this is about China and North Korea, and I'm gonna make a separate video on Syria, so please stay tuned for that one. Whew, it's gotten crazy, and it looks like the powers that be are just they're really trying to take Trump down, which means they're trying to take us down. And this article came out recently, NBC. It's about Lester Holt interviewed one of the highest ranking defectors in North Korean history, and I just wanted to highlight how really dangerous times we are with North Korea. I've been studying this. I lived in Korea. I have friends in Korea. I went to school there. I've been to the demilitarized zone. I studied Asian studies. I have a lot of knowledge base and interest in real stuff at stake here. Lives are at stake here in this. And it's not good with what's going on with North Korea right now. They've said a lot of stuff. See, with North Korea, it's like they always say crazy shit all the time, and it's just you just gotta it's like just some drunk uncle on Christmas. You just gotta ignore him, I guess. But this time it's starting to get pretty crazy. So let's read this here. So senior North Korean defectors told NBC News that the country's desperate dictators prepared to use nuclear weapons to strike the United States and its allies. Tae Young-ho is the most high-profile North Korean defector in 2 decades, meaning he is able to give a rare insight into the secretive authoritarian, I can't even speak right now, authoritarian regime. Lord of mercy. Kim Jong-un is desperate in maintaining his rule by relying on his development of nuclear weapons and ICBMs, says Tae Young-ho. ICBMs are intercontinental ballistic missiles, in case you don't know that. And that's true. Once he sees there is any kind of sign of a tank or imminent threat from America, he would use his nuclear weapons with ICBMs. That's why. So right now they can't hit the U.S. I mean, I live in LA, and that's probably where they're going to hit closest, us or Seattle. They have hit Alaska with a missile before, which is interesting. So he goes on to say, so in the story, so upward of 8 nuclear weapons, North Korea has upward of 8 nuclear weapons, but has not demonstrated ability to attach them. As I was just saying, they can't hit the U.S. yet, which is good, but they can hit South Korea. That's easily, very easily. They can already hit it with artillery. Some analysts have warned that the military action against the country might be difficult and even disastrous. An invasion could risk a retaliatory strike against U.S. allies Japan and South Korea, whose capital Seoul is just 50 miles from the border. And that's what's going to happen. From what I understand, the U.S. is most likely going to have to use tactical nukes to stop the invasion of the North Koreans. I mean, they were just going to fuck up Seoul and other parts of that country. Now, on the map, you can see that that's North Korea right here. That's Seoul. They have artillery all up in this area right here to slam the shit out of Seoul and even the surrounding areas like Paju. Paju's done. And that's Kaesong. I've been here to the DMZ. It's pretty It's scary. It's pretty nuts. I'm sure it's closed right now because it was very high tension when I was there, and that was just like quote unquote normal times. And in case you don't know, there still has never been an official ceasefire between North and South Korea. They just have an armistice deal right now, so they're still technically at war. And a lot of people don't realize this, and it's just crazy. You know, everybody's going on and on about Russia, but really, North Korea through China is one of the scariest places right now and biggest threats. And it's not just some fake bullshit threat. This is a real threat. This guy's nuts and he's desperate. And as you'll see, more and more people are catching on that it's all bullshit. So if we see, Korea is like this problem that you just didn't bother fixing, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and the longer you wait, the worse it's going to get, and eventually it's just going to pop. And it's just not good. It is not a good thing, and it's going to have to get dealt with. And Obama didn't deal with it, Bush didn't deal with it, you know. Clinton, as I'll just go to it now, in the 90s, Bill Clinton was the one that authorized them to get through energy aid, it enabled the North Koreans to build their nuclear weapon stockpiles. Let's look at this. New York Times, October 19th, 1994. President Clinton approved a plan today to arrange more than $4 billion in energy aid to North Korea during the next decade. In return, look at this fucking great deal we got. In return for a commitment. So they get $4 billion, and all they have to do is make a commitment from the country's hardline communist leadership to freeze and gradually dismantle its nuclear weapons development program. Well, how's that working out? Now, they probably didn't even really have a nuclear development program, or maybe they had some basic one, but now they were given the reactors thanks to the Clinton administration. And now they have even more material to make nukes. Under the accord, North Korea would agree to allow full and continuous inspections of its existing nuclear sites, freeze, and then later take apart some of its most important nuclear plants, and ultimately ship out of the country fuel rods that could be converted into fuel for weapons. The provision also means that it would be years before inspectors can resolve the questions of how much weapons-grade plutonium the North has already produced and perhaps converted into a primitive nuclear weapon. Some of Mr. Clinton's defense and intel aides said today that they had hoped North Korea would be forced to surrender its nuclear fuel under a much more rapid timetable. But they said that this goal could not be accomplished, and that the agreement reached this week was better than a continuing confrontation. Well, what do we have now? A continuing confrontation that's been made worse by the U.S. giving them $4 billion of free nuclear fucking technology in 1994, when some of you weren't even fucking born yet. This is what was going on. Here's your neoliberalism. That didn't work. And that's what's scary, because Trump doesn't like bullies, and that's what North Korea is. And North Korea is a proxy of China. And China uses North Korea as their bargaining chip, as their rabid dog, if you will, that, you know, if it's a buffer zone, it blocks because there's troops all over South Korea and Japan, and there's a peninsula right there. North Korea is that buffer between China and all the other countries in the U.S. on all those bases that surround it. And North Korea is like their crazy dog that, hey, if you get too close, I'm going to let my crazy dog that's got rabies out and he's going to fucking bite you. You know, because North Korea talks a lot of shit, but it's true. Living in South Korea, I can tell you, and studying this, studying the Koreas, I've met people that I've seen their shrapnel wounds. There's battles that aren't talked about that are just in like the local media, or if you really search, they're documented, but you don't hear about them. And then there's the more recent ones where they attacked an island. They allegedly sunk a South Korean ship, the Chonan, and I actually researched that when I was in Korea, and that's actually bullshit. That was interesting. That's something else, but I'll talk about that really quick. So the Chonan incident, that was back in what, like 2008, 2009, and usually North Korea, they admit when they do something, and this time North Korea didn't admit it, and they actually denied that they attacked the ship, and that was very uncharacteristic of them. And then when I was doing news reports on it in South Korea, when I was there at the time doing news, and a report came out that the government, one of the admirals, said for sure it was a missile, or I'm sorry, a torpedo that was used exclusively in German submarines. And then from my research, what I realized was that like Israeli, their ISI, I don't forget what it's called, but their intelligence, they use their submarines, they use German made torpedoes. So I was thinking that it had to be some kind of outside job, because who benefited in all of that was the United States, because right before that they were about to get kicked out of Okinawa, and then right shortly after that whole the Chonan attack, the Japanese got worried that they're vulnerable to North Korea, and they allowed the U.S. to stay. So that's getting into false flags, and that's going to be more in my next video. But that's just, I'm digressing with North Korea. But they are nuts, and they are capable of doing some crazy shit. And they probably, if they get attacked and they have the chance to nuke the U.S., which would mean the West Coast and where I live, they probably will. That's for sure. That dude's, their regime's fucking nuts. So he goes on. If Kim Jong-un has nuclear weapons and ICBMs, he can do anything, he said. So I think the world should be ready to deal with this kind of person. And it's true. The final real solution to North Korea nuclear issue is to eliminate Kim Jong-un from the post. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But it is, North Korea is basically a hereditary dictatorship, but it's also like an, what do you call it, like an oligarchy? I don't know if that's the right term that I'm using, but it's not just him. Yeah, he has power, but it's still, the power is diffused within, I mean, it's a pyramid, but I don't know, maybe the ultimate, like the super high power elite, there's probably like 5, 10 superpower guys, and then it just keeps pyramiding down. So you're going to have to take out a lot more than just that one guy, and it's going to take a lot, because those people are brainwashed. But it is looking in a little bit better as they get more and more exposure with the internets, which is hard to get over there. So Kim is obsessed with obtaining nukes because he saw what happened to Iraq's Saddam Hussein and Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, both of whom abandoned their country's weapons of mass destruction programs and were then overthrown by Western-backed forces. And many analysts agree that Kim sees a nuclear weapon and the retaliatory threat it poses as an insurance policy against a similar strategy being pursued against him. And that is very true, because that's what happened to Gaddafi. Gaddafi, most of you don't know, but you can look this up as well, is that Gaddafi was about to get a humanitarian award from the United Nations. He was actually, say what you will, I mean, I'm sure that nobody's perfect, especially not Muammar Gaddafi. They have no one's without their flaws, not even dictators. That being said, it was pretty secular. Women didn't have to wear the full hijab thing. They had a really good system of like schools and stuff compared to, it was like the jewel of Africa, right? And he was trying to get he made some aqueduct system, got water going. He's trying to get off the petrodollar and use a gold-backed system. And then they just, the powers that be just couldn't have that. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm digressing once again. Oh yeah, so, but basically the fact that, that North Korea if North Korea were to go, okay, yeah, we'll get rid of the nuclear weapons, which would be great, which would be super foolish. I wish they would. I really wish they would. That would be great, because then we can go and attack them and be like, aha, bitch, you put your guard down. Because if they don't have nukes, most likely the U.S. would have gone in a long time ago. But they didn't, and they didn't go in a long time ago when he had nukes. And that's going to get to I'm getting ahead of myself. So what I'm saying is that something that needs to be done about North Korea. It's like I said before, it's like that problem that you didn't fix that just keeps getting worse and worse. There's really no way around it. There's really no way. Sorry, I had to stop there. So as I was saying, I was getting my basic point is that something has to be done about North Korea. But let's continue with the story. So this guy was able to escape with his wife and children, but he fears his brother and sister in North Korea have been punished for his actions. And this is what they do. They torture these people and put them in gulags. More than 100,000 people are believed to have been detained in North Korea's notorious gulags, where they're subjected to forced labor and torture and executions. Treatment, the United Nations said, was strikingly similar to the atrocities of Nazi Germany. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about, like, North Korea is a real serious threat. I mean, you're talking about that's what got us into World War II. We're fucking having to kill Nazis and Japanese crazy, whatever, Imperial Japan that was going on over there. It's pretty hardcore what's going on in North Korea. Most people cannot use internet or access foreign media. Kim's attempt to maintain the pretense that his country is prosperous and that the Western world is failing. So this guy's got a complete control of reality, something that it's like, just imagine it was just all mainstream media like America, but without any like internet or any kind of like truth. That's what's going on in North Korea. So this guy says, I'm absolutely sure that once North Korean people are educated enough that they may stand up. North Korean population now thinks well that South Korea is democratic. The society and economy here are very well. He then said he already made the North Korean population not believe what the regime has been teaching and has been brainwashing them. He added, I think this is a really great change in people's mind because they do not believe in the government's propaganda system. So the Kim Jong-un regime's failing. That's not good. We can't let this dude get nukes to reach the U.S. It's going to be a fucking bloodbath. I don't really know any way around it if we have some kind of precision strike team. I know they train for it a lot. I don't like war. I disagree with it. This is definitely a lot more just than Syria. And Syria is a whole other... I mean, that's just... It's just a big fucking mess with a bunch of factions fighting for power. A lot of them are Islamic terrorists that our government actually supported and gave weapons to. Probably still does. This is different. I mean, yes, similar though, because as you see, I don't know, the government has a history of arming the bad guys, just like we just armed Kim Jong-un and indirectly in the 90s by giving them the technology for energy, which giving them, what was it? How many billion was it? Giving them $4 billion in free energy, nuclear energy and technology, and we get in return for a promise that is easily broken. That's what Trump's talking about, like bad deals, but I don't know what's going on with the Syria thing, and I'm going to have to get into that. So, yeah. So to recap, North Korea is just a big fucking clusterfuck. It really is. It's as I was trying to tell my buddy the other day, it's one of the most important things that's going on right now. And China really isn't our friend. I don't know why the media is going on and on about Russia when China could have put an end to this. And that's what Trump's supposed to be talking to the dictator of China about, is doing something about this fucking mess that's going on in North Korea. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you made it all the way through, and sorry for ranting so much, but it's just what I do. Thanks.